Welcome to the Cashflow Ninja, the podcast sharing how to create and grow income streams and manage, multiply, and protect your wealth in the new economy. Are you tired of trading your time for money? Do you desire freedom today instead of retirement in 10, 20, or 30 years? I'm MC Laubscher, and this is the Cashflow Ninja. Hello, Cashflow Ninjas. MC Laubscher here, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Ninja. I have a great show for you today. In today's show, I'm joined by Gerald Celente from the Trends Research Institute to discuss and track the top trends of 2019. Gerald, whose motto is think for yourself, observes and analyzes the current events, forming future trends for what they are, not for the way he wants them to be. A true American Patriot, Gerald owns 3 pre-revolutionary stone buildings on the most historic corner in America where the seeds of democracy were sown, Colonial Kingston, New York's first capital. If you're interested in joining our investors group, you could go to cashflowninja.com/investors group and fill out an application form and or email me at info@cashflowninja.com to start the discussion and to see if you're a good fit for our group. And if you live in the Philadelphia, Bucks County, and southern New Jersey area, we are hosting a live investors meetup event every month in Newtown, Pennsylvania. For more information on the monthly event and information on how to join us at our next live event, you could go to cashflowninja.com/events. MC Laubscher here, the host of the Cashflow Ninja podcast and also the president and chief wealth and investment strategist of Producers Wealth, where we help our clients integrate cash flow banking, also known as infinite banking, with their business and investments. If you're interested in learning more about how we create strategies that integrate cash flow banking and investments to turbocharge them, you can access a video series at yourownbankingsystem.com. That's yourownbankingsystem.com. Mr. Celente, welcome back to the show.
Hey, great being on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always look forward to our conversations. So really appreciate you taking some time to speak with all of us. Mr. Celente, lots happening. Every time I speak with you, I kind of like look at everything in the news and, you know, what's going on. And I almost chuckle. There's so much going on. A lot of this plays into the top trends for 2019 that you talk about. What's your current view on the economy, markets? I know one of your top trends was an economic 9/11.
Well, you know, when people call me a futurist, I always say, you know, nobody's a futurist. You can't predict the future. There are too many wild cards. When we made that forecast of an economic 9/11, it was based on the U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell indicating that there'd be aggressive interest rate hikes in 2019, 2 to 3, maybe even 4. And then on January 4th, 2019, he changed the deal. He said, we're going to be patient. And then on January 30th, he said, well, you know, we may not raise rates is the message. So that changed our forecast, because we made the forecast based on the belief that they would dry up the monetary methadone that they've been shooting into the bull since the Panic of '08. So now, not only has Powell changed his mind for the Federal Reserve, now you're hearing over there in Australia, well, looks like we're going to maybe cut rates this year. The UK, well, we're going to be patient. Canada, good job numbers. We're holding rates where they are. So it's one country after another. India, you just saw what happened with the Prime Minister, Modi. When you go back last year, they got rid of the central bank chair and they put in another one. So what did they do? Well, they got the elections coming up. They cut interest rates. So what we're saying is that the economic 9/11 has been postponed. And the reason being is they're going to do everything they can. More quantitative easing, QE4. Lower rates where they can do them. More cheap money when you can't, like in Japan and Europe. It already has negative rates. So that's what we see. they're going to keep boosting the market. But on the other end, we said, as the rates go lower, gold prices go higher. And now we're seeing that happen. As we're speaking, gold is now at $1,340 an ounce. And as you well know from following us, we said that the bottom of gold last year in 2018 would be $1,200. When we said it, after we said it, it hit $1,185. So we're right on the money. $15 really doesn't count in this business. So now you're going to see more cheap money going in to keep artificially boosting the global economy.
How does that affect the real estate market? We've got a number of real estate investors listening to us, and maybe you could touch on the crypto markets as well.
On the real estate front, well, you had here in the States, you saw in Southern California, home sales plunged 20% this past December to the lowest pace in 11 years. Again, mortgage rates were going up. Interest rates were going up. You can't handle a 5% 30-year mortgage. So now they're going back down. So real estate will be fine. They're still overbuilding. It's going to go down to some extent where it's very overbuilt, like in Australia. But they're going to do everything they can in China as well. You're going to see more and more cheap money flowing into the markets to boost them up. On the crypto level, we have an expert in the field. I don't consider myself one, Jonathan Cho. And he believes that what we're looking now with Bitcoin, for example, this is the peak. Again, this is a whole new market sector, and it's brand new in the sense of a history behind it. So, it's risky taking when you get into the Bitcoin field. The other ones, again, it's dollars and cents. It's all it was, again, that propped up the markets was cheap money. It didn't prop up the livelihoods of the average person. That's why you're seeing the nationalist movements and populist movements spreading throughout Europe. The yellow vests in France. It's about lousy lifestyle because all the money's going to the rich. So that's where we see it going. So we're going to see a Trump rally continue this year for another reason as well. The 2020 elections are coming up, and the presidential reality show is going full tilt already. We have more people running in the Democratic Party than ever any time before. So what you're going to see is Trump being in the real estate business. He wants real estate to continue to grow. And he's the one that pressured Powell to keep lowering interest rates. He was making fun of them. The Fed tell them they were crazy. And people say, does the Fed bow to the president? Of course they do. Go back and just read just a couple of months ago what Paul Volcker, the former Federal Reserve Chairman under Ronald Reagan, said. He was brought to the White House. James Baker, Chief of Staff, called Volcker into the library. Reagan sat there, didn't say a word, and Volcker and Baker said to Volcker, the president is giving you an order not to raise rates before the election. Couldn't be clearer than that. So again, I just mentioned what happened with Modi, and now you're seeing it with Trump. So going back to where's it all going, it has a lot to do with politics. Trump is in the real estate business. The elections are coming up in 2020, so start looking for interest rate cuts. They could bring the mortgage rate back down to like a 2.85.
Very interesting. The trade wars that Trump was talking about with China, what do you see on that front? And obviously with the Trump rally, you see a possible recession being pushed back now.
Yes, we see the recession being pushed back. And a rally, it's not going to be the rally, the big market rally before. It'll be stabilized. On the trade war, that's a lot of baloney. There is no trade war. The tariffs amount to nothing. 0.7%, 0.6% of the Chinese economy. They're going to make a deal. There's a slowdown in China. You're looking at, auto sales last year was the worst year they had since the 1990s as far as decline. The GDP numbers, the worst in 10 years. Retail was the worst in 10 years. GDP, I think, is also one of the worst in, I think, 20 years. But it's a slowdown. People aren't spending money, not because they're afraid of a trade war, it's because they're not making enough money. This trade war is a lot of nonsense. There's no trade war. It's a global slowdown. And that's all it's about. And again, it was artificially propped up. Rather than letting economic fundamentals push the markets forward, they artificially boosted them. So now you're getting it from the artificial boost, you're going into a low. But we don't see it as the trade war stuff is a lot of nonsense. China's going to strike a deal. They're not going to. We have a $375 billion merchandise trade deficit with them. You think they're not going to keep doing business with the United States? Who would do business under those conditions?
Right, and you make a great point too. I mean, markets at all-time highs, but the average person's still struggling. Populist movements everywhere, as you predicted. I mean, the yellow jackets or vests or whatever you want to call them, in France being the one that's generating views or is generating optics of light. You've seen this business for a long time. I remember you sharing a story with me, actually picking up Ronald Reagan for actually a trade show. So you've seen the business of politics. You've been inside it. You've been around it. You trademarked the phrase, the presidential reality show. You called it Trump win. What do you see unfolding in the next election cycle? Because this most surely will play into the economy and all of the other things that affects business owners and investors.
Well, there's going to be the big, what they call the socialist movement in the United States. And again, it's going to be a reaction, as you're seeing with France. The only difference is it's not going to happen in America because it'll still be under the control of the Democratic Party. And that's a reactionary party, as both of them are. So it's not as though a new party like Lega, Cinque Stelle in Italy, or the AfD party in Germany, or the Freedom Party in Austria. These are relatively newer parties, but you're not going to have that in the States. So it really won't go anywhere. It'll be a lot of talk and very little action. The person that we're forecasting now, if he announces, is this Beto O'Rourke, and we call him the White Obama. And the reason being is not he plays like Obama, but in the Trends Journal back in 2008, when Obama was behind in the polls in 2007 against Hillary Clinton, running for the Democratic nominee, we had forecast that Obama would win because Oprah Winfrey took him under her wing. He was the first president that she ever championed. And he became that's when we coined the term, actually, presidential reality show. He knew how to read that teleprompter, put on his act. Folks, hope and change you could believe in. I'm going to heal the nation, repair the nation, and heal the world. And everybody believed it because she's the queen of TV talk. I was on her show twice, and I've been on virtually every show. Nobody had a show like her. Nobody came close. So when a real pro took Obama under her wing, we knew he would win. She's done the same thing with Beto O'Rourke. And that's why we're calling him a winner. Because if he's trained by Oprah, plus, oh, by the way, a little minor fact, his daddy-in-law is a billionaire. So he got the dough behind him.
Yeah, that helps.
And I mean, Obama was a front for the Pritzker family, who owns the Hyatt hotel chain. He was a community organizer in Chicago who organized nothing. So he's a nobody. And he was pushed up through them. So now he has O'Rourke. That's the guy we see right now. It's either going to be him or Kamala Harris. The only one I have any respect for is Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii. She's the only one out of all the candidates that have come out against America's overt coup attempt in Venezuela. All the other ones have lockjaw on it or support it.
You're listening to the Cashflow Ninja, the show helping people all over the world create monthly cash flow and achieve freedom today, not in 10, 20, 30, and or 40 years. This is the show where cash is not king, but cash flow is king. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors. My friend Dave Zook says you can be conventional or you can be wealthy. Pick one. Dave and his team at The Real Asset Investor have syndicated many successful real estate and ATM projects over the last decade. Now his team has an exclusive opportunity for investors in the coal space. Do you want to be part of an energy project that takes conventional coal and cleans it up by extracting liquids while releasing almost zero emissions? The sale of these liquids can produce strong double-digit cash flow and aggressive tax benefits against ordinary income, all while using America's #1 most plentiful resource in a responsible, efficient manner. Now that's non-conventional. For more information on this exclusive opportunity, you can visit therealassetinvestor.com or contact the Real Asset Investor team at info@therealassetinvestor.com.
Are you having a hard time finding great investment properties? Unfortunately, the best deals are rarely found locally. Successful investing begins with the right properties in the right markets. Norada Real Estate provides everything you need to invest in the best deals across the United States. Our simple, proven system will help you create real wealth and passive monthly cash flow. Learn how to find the best deals by downloading your free copy of The Ultimate Guide to Passive Real Estate Investing at noradarealestate.com. That's NORADA realestate.com.
You're listening to the Cashflow Ninja, the show helping people all over the world create monthly cash flow and achieve freedom today, not in 10, 20, 30, and or 40 years. This is the show where cash is not king, but cash flow is king. Now let's return to our interview. It's been staggering just to see. I mean, obviously, you've talked about, and I do want to mention Occupy Peace because it's just a great thing that you've started. So I do want to touch on that, but it's also great to see her being one of the candidates saying, "Let's bring the troops home. Let's get out of this mess. Let's repair our country," and then also playing on that foreign intervention card where there's not a whole lot going on there, and we've seen the resistance that the current president has had, just trying to pull the troops out of Syria and all of other geographical wars that they're currently in.
Yeah, on one end he's trying to pull them in, on the other end he's pushing them out, like what we're doing with Venezuela. We have no business involved there. You know, it's a disgrace. But of course, you know, as I've often said, you'd think we would have invaded Iraq and destroyed Syria if their major export was broccoli. You know, this is about oil. And, you know, we have this guy Bolton, the United States National Security Advisor. This is his quote: "We're in conversation with major American companies now. It would make a difference if we could have American companies produce the oil in Venezuela. It would be good for the for the people of the United States." I mean, this is overt. This is disgusting. This is criminal. Well, he's a low-life little piece of garbage, so it fits him perfectly. Could you imagine if Russia said this, or China said this, and he had a Chinese national security advisor or a Russian one saying this? Yeah, we want to go in there. It would be good if American companies went into Russia and we took over their oil. I mean, this is a disgrace. And of course, Venezuela is the world's largest, sitting on the largest amount of reserves, oil reserves.
Right. Yeah, and this will impact everyone, and that's why we cover it here as well. A couple of other trends that I definitely want to talk about and touched on is bye-bye boomers. What do you see unfolding in that trend in 2019?
That's not good. You know, I'm the leading edge boomer. I was born in 1946, and one of my lines is that the older you get, the more you have to do, and the less you do, the quicker you go. So when you're looking at the condition of the boomers, it's not very healthy. Some 40% of us are obese. About 70% are overweight. And then you look at the financial situation of the boomers, and it's pretty bleak. You know, they're very deep in debt. They can't afford to live alone, so they're cohabitating with other people. A lot of them have to go back to work because they can't retire. So, I mean, they're you know, that's not for all of them, of course, but it's for a very sizable portion of them. And it's going to be a real burden on American society, because who's going to take care of them when they do get older? And you're going to find out not a lot. The families are dispersed. It's not like it used to be. So we're going to have a real problem here with the boomers. It's going to be very, very tough going. We have more than 9 million senior citizens over the age of 70 are in the workforce. You know, again, and you look at the Pew Research Center found that 52% of U.S. citizens in their 60s are either financially supporting a parent or being supported by an offspring. So it's pretty bleak for the group. We're going to see these boarding houses like they used to have years ago start to return. We have, you know, a load of people living in one house and they're all eating in one room and, you know, sharing bathrooms. That's what we're going to be looking more and more at. And then, of course, then there's the Alzheimer's disease, which is going to affect 1 out of 10 people older than 65. So the country isn't prepared for this.
Yeah, and I'll touch on the health trend that you also talk about it and ready to explode in a second. I want to stay in the boomer trend for just a minute here, because as a business owner, entrepreneurs and investors, a massive trend. What is it? 76 million baby boomers. And if you look at the majority, I mean, it's still the majority of their money is either in their house where they saved it, in their 401ks, their qualified retirement plans, or they're depending on a pension and Social Security. And we all know, if we've been paying attention to the massive bubbles that we have, they're basically depending on the housing prices sustaining where it is and finding a buyer for it. Qualified retirement plans that's tied to the stock market, making sure that markets stay high for them to access money. And then also pensions, if there's anything left. And if we see what's going on in New Jersey, California, Illinois, and New York and so forth, it doesn't look really good at all. And then also Social Security, which we've touched on, which is not a very rosy picture by their own numbers.
Yeah, no, again, it's a real problem. But you make a point. You know, there are a number of golden opportunities for the golden age entrepreneurs. And there's a lot of opportunity to help them to live more affordable, effective, and healthy lives. And there's not really a big movement making that happen. And of course, whole health healing is one of the big elements on just the natural part of it. So, you know, how seniors will house, feed, and heal themselves are 3 categories that demand creative, broad thinking. And for the entrepreneurs that understand that, it's just going to be a growing trend. And it's not only here, by the way, it's around the world. Because after the war, you know, the soldiers came back and everybody was happy. That's why you had a baby boom. In the old days, it used to be make love, not war. Now we have make war, not love in America.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, as you mentioned, huge opportunity there for with some creative approaches and thinking. Let's touch on the health. We I mean we, not just in the United States. This is a global problem as well. The health of folks is just is really, really terrible. What do you see happening in this trend, and what are some of the ramifications and opportunities for entrepreneurs?
Well, again, you know, it's ready to explode is one of our trends. You look at the numbers. You know, people talk about, people are eating organic and the fast food places are becoming more healthy. In the United States in 2017, the latest numbers, organic accounted for only 5.5% of the food sold in retail channels. Again, go into any supermarket. You go in and they got an organic section, a tiny little section compared to the rest of it. And that's what America is. And you look at the fast food. Back when I was a young guy in the 70s, the whole fast food industry was $6 billion. Today it's well over $200 billion. So you are what you eat. And obesity has become, the reality in America. I mentioned that, among the boomers. Matter of fact, it just came out. The President of the United States is obese. He just came back from his health checkup. He's obese. 180 million Americans, or over 60% of the population, ages 2 and over, are either obese or overweight. So again, I mentioned before, among the adults, 40% are obese. Now, you know what that number used to be when I was a really young guy in the 60s? It was only 3.4%. So all this has to do is with eating garbage and eating too much of it. And you can see the results. And as you said, it's going global now because the rest of the world is picking up America's bad fast food, junk food habit.
Is it also about the centralization and consolidation of the food companies? I think someone sent me a chart the other day. It's almost starting to look like the media corporations. A handful of them control all of the food supply. Yes,
that's very true. And you're getting very low quality garbage. And it's a monopoly around the world. It's globalization. It's the takeover. All we are is, as I call them, we're just plantation workers in Slavelandia, and the multinational plantations control the whole country, the whole world, and they're feeding us what they want and producing what they want at the quality of what they want, and the quality is bottom line first, quality last.
The other trend that you've spoken and written about is the get high, get healthy, the cannabis industry. What is some of the latest developments that you're seeing there?
Oh, this is so big. We were one of the first ones to write about this, and it's just going to continue to explode. The primary reason behind it, of course, is to get tax revenue. And the disgusting element about it is that the same criminals that criminalized it are now making the rules to legalize it. This is God's plant. They didn't give it to us. Mother Earth put it here. I should say, can I say Father Earth too? Because I got to be equal. I don't want to get anybody angry. I don't want to say Mother Earth. I got to say Father Earth too. I don't want the opposite of me too coming after me. Of course, I'm being just making fun of the whole thing. But anyway, here this is a plant that's put on the planet, and we got a bunch of clown politicians in the 1930s starting to regulate this stuff. And now they're a mafia, the Republican and Democratic mafia. Now they're saying, all right, we're going to legalize it, but you got to pay us a lot of taxes. You understand? And then we're going to set up our own organizations to monitor it. So we make sure you do exactly what we tell you to do so we get all the money that we want from you. And we're only going to make the big people be the ones that are going to make all the money because we're going to make it so hard for the average person to get into the business. So when we give it to the big people, then they give us kickbacks besides us getting all the money for taxes. So us little low-life scum who never worked a day in our lives and want to be career politicians so we could tell you what to do, will continue to do it. This is one of the biggest disgraces ever, that the criminals who criminalized it are now the same slime balls are telling us they're going to legalize it under their conditions with big kickbacks. So anyway, this trend is going to explode because the whole world wants tax revenue. And then the other point of it is the health benefits. And they're going to continue to accelerate as more and more studies are done into it. If the planet could feed us, could it heal us? And now with the legalization of hemp, you're going to start seeing a lot of products replacing the synthetic products with hemp. So this is going to be in a few years, it's going to be in the 220 trillion number. In a decade, it'll probably be in the trillions.
Yeah, I'm already starting to see a lot of the products like a CBD oil, for example, for inflammation and for sleeping better at night, and that being in the marketplace. A lot of hemp products. So we're right in the beginning of this. So I can just see this taking off in a massive way. I want to stick on to one brand quick. One trend, the dying brands that you speak about, because I think that's an important marketing message for a lot of folks out there marketing their business and conveying their message to the marketplace. There's a lot of mistakes that big brands have made and have seen playing to certain, I would say, political correct messages, which really alienated a lot of their base, their clients, or their customers. What do you see happening in that trend, and what opportunities are there for business owners to communicate their message to the marketplace?
We had forecast this trend actually in 1997 with the new millennium coming. We were saying that there's going to be a lot of changes, and the old brands are becoming too big and too the same. And that's exactly what's happened. There used to be uniqueness. And again, before you were talking about the multinationals taking over and the few owning everything. Same things happen within the brand industry. And they haven't changed for the times. So whether it was a soup or Harley motorcycles, it's a different generation. And they haven't changed with what's going on. And then you look at the retail sector. I mean, who wants to go into a Sears or a Macy's? You've been into one, you've been into them all. And they haven't changed to really formulate with a diversified population. It's a very different population makeup than it used to be when it was America in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s. It's a total different demographic. And they haven't, and around the world, then the ones that don't change with the times are going to go. They're going to fade out. And again, Harley Davidson couldn't be a more perfect example. You know, it was a boomer bike. You know, I mean, you couldn't get a better stereotype. These overweight guys with Nazi helmets driving these loud things. You know, it's a different time. You know, so it's very important to keep up with the trends. But look, how many companies have trend forecasting divisions inside of them? How many colleges and universities teach trend forecasting? How about virtually none? But you know what? You could get a degree in history. You could get a degree in learning about everything that we're going to tell you that happened after we revised to make up our own story about it. But we're not going to teach you how the current events form future trends. That's off limits because we're too stupid to do it, so we're not going to teach it to you. Matter of fact, you should get a degree in gender studies, and then also you could become a millennial and have $38,000 in debt when you get out of college and not have a job later on because you got a degree in worthlessness. So the country isn't looking ahead. There should be a cabinet position of trend forecasting. What are the implications of the decisions being made? Companies don't have it. It's off limits.
Yep, absolutely. History before it happens. You can find everything at the Trends Journal, an amazing, amazing resource. Please check in with the folks there at trendsresearch.com. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show again and sharing all this valuable information with all of our listeners.
And thank you for having me on, and thank you for all that you do.
Life settlement investments have allowed financial and banking institutions to not only buy their equity contractually, but also diversify their capital from any economic, market, and geopolitical risk. It's been part of the billion-dollar blueprint followed by institutional investors. And if you're an accredited investor, you can also now participate in this vehicle with enormous growth potential. You can watch an informational webinar presented by one of the premier organizations providing life settlement investments, Penumbra Solutions, at cashflowninja.com/life settlements. Thank you again for joining me on the Cashflow Ninja. If you like what you hear and appreciate what we're trying to build here, please subscribe, rate, and write a review for our show on iTunes and share our show with family, friends, and your network. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can sign up for our newsletter at cashflowninja.com. I want to thank you for spending your most precious resource with me today, your time. Until next time, my friend, live a life of passion and purpose on your terms. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.